Welcome to the third episode of Selfmade with Nadeshot and the lovely Jackson Dahl.
You're here.
You're glowing today.
I'm really happy to be
You look fantastic.
Thank you.
We have a guest on the show today who is one of my best friends in this world. He's the man that convinced me to move out to LA, essentially really changed my life, but is the quintessential example of what it means to be self-made. And a lot of people that are watching the show probably come from a gaming background or esports in some way or another. And Ryan is the example that you guys need to follow tooth and nail to really figure out how to make it in this industry.
Two things. One, I had the outfit on first, just set the record straight. Two,
Matt literally went upstairs and changed.
yes, thank you. So this is why we have Jackson on the show as well. Somebody
Please make
needs
sure
to
you're talking
verify
to the mic.
this. I'm going to talk into the mic.
I know you've never done this before.
Second of all, that was incredible. It wasn't teleprompted or scripted, and it's actually not on the sheet. So you're getting good at this hosting thing, man.
Thank you so much.
there's
Well, you are the
hope for
guiding
you
light.
yet.
You're the North, hope for you yet. You're the North Star in what it means to be a host.
Thank you.
And we're going to get into all that.
All right,
But if you could just give me a general background of what you're doing now, where you came from. Actually, just give me your title and what your day-to-day looks like as a businessman in this world today.
Yeah, so I'm the global head of gaming at YouTube. I've been doing it for 5 years. Outside of just gaming at YouTube, I run a couple of our smaller businesses as well around auto tech and virtual reality. So virtual reality is kind of we have a corpus of about 1 million VR videos. We're on every VR headset, and so you can kind of watch VR videos. But I'd say 85% of my job I spend focused on gaming because of how big of a business it is for us.
And responding to angry YouTubers.
It's par for the course. You know, sometimes it's warranted and things we need to improve upon. But yes, that is part of my job on Twitter as well. Twitter.com/Fwiz.
/Fwiz. I love seeing YouTubers complain on the Twitter timeline, and I just see Ryan following up because I know who Ryan is and how he is when people get confrontational, and he just replies to them so politely and cordially.
Yeah, no, look, I try to. It depends situationally. Like sometimes it's completely unnecessary, and other times it's well warranted. So I try to step in and help out. You know, ideally, I get our social media team slightly more ramped up to field these, and I don't become
No, it's all your job.
the head of gaming, as well as my 20% project is kind of running customer support on social media.
Perfect.
I'm a man of the people. I always have been. You know, I always have been. It's what I take a lot of joy in that.
And we will talk about that.
Okay,
but
great.
Really quickly, I want to remind everybody that this podcast is available on all platforms where you can find podcasts. More specifically, though, iTunes and Spotify are probably the big two that you guys will be concerning yourself with.
I think
We're
we added
also-
Google Podcasts, though. We
Thank
added
you. Thank
all
you.
kinds of things. We're adding them.
Yeah, keep going, Jackson. Keep going.
Oh, I can't think of any others, but there are other platforms. If you have a platform, we're probably on.
Well, I was trying to dish it to you. We're also on YouTube. If you guys are listening to the
that's the
audio
number one
version.
platform.
Yeah, with the number one platform, we're here with the head of gaming on YouTube. We get it. But we're also on YouTube. The video is very important. Me and Ryan are actually matching today. He stole my outfit, but maybe we just have both great taste. Now, I want to really quickly read a review from iTunes, okay? So this review came from Awkward Cookies. I've always thought Nadeshot to be a people person with great energy, so when I heard about this podcast, I was ecstatic. It's about time, he says. The first episode with Hex was inspirational, and the whole concept behind this podcast is great. Can't wait to see where this goes, and I hope Matt keeps this kind of content going.
Wow. The most shocking part of that, I am not Awkward Cookies, believe it or not.
That's my Smurf account.
Oh, it makes sense.
That's the young Gen.
That's my Smurf account. So I control people online.
I did not actually pick this review for what it's worth. Our producers, Alex, did. Alex, I appreciate you picking one that gassed me up. But if you guys have time and you enjoy the show, make sure you leave 5 stars on iTunes. Really helps us out. Please like and subscribe.
I'm going to do both, to be honest with you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now listen, Jackson, this is perfect because you've known Ryan for a little bit. You met him through me. I've met Fwiz a very, very long time ago from competitive Call of Duty. Back in the day in like 2009, he was casting and reffing on GB, all these other things, and our intersections crossed as I was a competitor in the professional scene. But you met him really probably a year and a half ago.
He was already very self-made when I met him, though. It was a different take on Fwiz, I would imagine.
I know, but I want you to ask him the questions on where he started because I feel like you don't have the backstory and I do. So this could be a great time for me to not cut you off like I have been in past podcasts.
You didn't read my book?
Bro, that's like that Pokemon comment. Just Google me. Ryan says you didn't read my
strong.
book.
I'm taking a notch down from that comment, but no, happy to.
So to jump into it, going way back, commentary, game battles, Machinima, where did things really start for you? And when did it go from a hobby to, holy cow, this might be something much bigger?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I was a sophomore in college. This is probably 2007. I was playing game battles, Call of Duty, really competitive, loved it. Competitive Call of Duty was by far the most fun I've ever had playing video games, period. But I was also kind of, finishing up sophomore year, going into my junior year, and I'm like, I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do with my life and career. And definitely wanted to do something that I was passionate about. And it was very clear, like, gaming was where I was most passionate. So I kind of looked at, the website MLG and game battles. And it's like, there's clearly people running tournaments and there's things that need to be done in order for this whole operation to actually happen. And so, I kind of just picked up a shovel and started digging. So where I saw the most obvious path forward was actually volunteering. So I volunteered to be a referee for Call of Duty competitive matches. And so they would bring referees in when they were tournament matches or whatever it would be to basically resolve disputes. And so that's actually how I started. So the first 2 years of my career, if you will, was all just volunteered work.
And that was all online?
Unpaid. Yeah, it was unpaid. All unpaid.
All online game battles.
All online game battles. And then what that parlayed into, which was attending the MLG events to be a referee as well. So I started attending MLG events, I want to say in 2008, maybe a little bit earlier, but 2008. And I was actually, working. Those were long weekends. I mean, you as a player, Matt, you remember those weekends as a player. I mean, you're working 15, 16-hour days, right? So they were really long. And then you'd go out and drink at night because you still wanted the social element. And I had never traveled west of the Mississippi in my life before.
Really?
Yeah. And so this was taking me to places like Dallas, Texas, and Anaheim, California. And so it was a really cool experience. Now, I wasn't making much money, but it was the first kind of, foot in the door. But that's how I started my career. And that was before commentating, right? That ended up being what I ended up doing.
How did you transition? Oh, I'm sorry. No,
I was just going to say,
go.
I love that because we have people, and I'm sure you do too, we have people reach out all the time and say, oh, I want to work for 100 Thieves, or I want to work in esports or gaming, whatever. How do I do it? And one of the things I always say is just find a way, no matter what it is, to get your foot in the door and be involved in some kind of way. And I love that for you, it was literally just kind of like banging your way in and saying, I'm going to volunteer, I'm going to ref, I know about Call of Duty, I'm going to figure out a way to kind of get into this. And obviously, a lot of things happen between then and now, but I think it's really cool to see someone with your level of success get in through something so scrappy.
It's a little controversial, too, of like people working unpaid as well, which I'm empathetic to. But at the same time, it was like, I kind of just saw on the horizon this opportunity to work in the games industry, and I knew that it was going to pay off. Like, I did know I was going to get a job in gaming. Yeah. Like, I was certain of that. If I, finishing college, whatever I needed to do, I was going to get a job. Now, whether it was being a finance guy or a marketing guy at a games company, I had no idea what the final outcome was.
Sure.
It certainly was not like, oh, I'm going to run gaming at YouTube one day, and that's my North Star, and I'm going to go chase it. Yeah. Things kind of just happen. Where I found myself to be successful, lucky, I think it's kind of an interchangeable word sometimes, is I saw an opportunity with Call of Duty where it was this game, Call of Duty 4 had come out, and it was a massive game, right? And MLG loved Halo. Call of Duty was like a castaway, like, oh my gosh, this isn't a real game. Sure. Halo is the quintessential shooter. We used the word quintessential twice in one podcast, first time ever. And so I was like, this is ridiculous. Call of Duty sold more units. It's such a big game, Call of Duty 4. So, and these online tournaments that people are playing every weekend for like $200, whatever it was, where the pro players, like Matt, you were playing in these tournaments. I was like, why don't we just start recording these things and streaming them right on MLG? Like, let's just do it. So I actually put up a game battle sign, went to Office Max, put up a Game Battles Live sign behind me, and started recording from my closet. And so we would actually start, me and another guy named Hastro, who owns Envious. We just started commentating online tournament matches. And
so that was why you started commentating, just because you saw an opportunity.
That's right.
To give the Call of Duty community something they didn't already have.
Yes.
Because I never really understood where, I mean, I've known you for so long, but I didn't know what the driving force was. I need to start commentating on these matches. Were you a fan of Chris Puckett, what he was doing?
Yeah, super. Gaming? I think Chris Puckett was like, what he was doing was very inspirational, right? Like I just kind of like, my attitude at the time wasn't like, oh, I want to be a commentator. It was, where is there a void and how do I fill it, right? Because that is where then I can kind of say, this is my niche, this is my opportunity, and I can step into it. I had I was pretty personable, and I knew the game really well from playing it competitively.
I think pretty personable is like an understatement. One thing I like to say about Ryan, the reason he's successful today is because he knows how to talk. He can sell ice to an Eskimo. That's what I always like to say. Yeah, I mean, if you never got into esports, you would be the number one car salesman in the entire world.
I will take that as a compliment, all things considered. But yes, I think if I didn't get into gaming, I always say I'd be back home in Akron selling, cell phones at Verizon Wireless probably, which is what, I would.
Which isn't necessarily
what I would be doing. I'm just very serious. I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. So like I was going for gaming, and this is where I started commentating, and where my big break, and this, I'll tell you, to this day, after all of these years, all these years, I say I've been working in the games industry like 12 years now, but the best moment in my games industry, there's two moments that I will always remember very fondly. The first one was MLG Anaheim 2009. It's the first time ever being in California.
You were reffing or you were commentating?
I was reffing that weekend, but I had the chance to commentate the finals, the national championship for Call of Duty 4. It was November 2009. And it was the most amazing opportunity because it was coming up to the wire in the previous semifinals match, the winners finals match. And so we didn't know if we were going to get it on main stage or not. And so we got it on main stage. And that was the first time I commentated not in my closet and was able to commentate on the main stage. And it was a surreal moment for me. And that could have been the end of my gaming career, and I would have been like the happiest guy ever. So that's kind of where my big break in turn, happened after that.
That's awesome.
And you absolutely crushed it. And I was actually at that event. And a fun fact, it's pretty unbelievable. I was talking about this on stream the other day. MLG Anaheim 2009 was my first Call of Duty event. And fast forward 10 years later, MLG 2000 Anaheim 19, and 100 Thieves wins the tournament.
Wild.
I just wanted to bring that up, pat ourselves on the back real quick.
Yeah.
So
you were such a little kid, man, when I met you. It was so funny, dude. How old were you then? 16?
That's a great question. I was like 16.
Yeah.
15, 16.
I remember I was reffing your guys' station and Felonies came up. He's like, can I go to the bathroom? I was like, sit your ass back in that seat, dude. We're running behind. I'm trying to make or break my career over here. You guys need to get a kill. Because we were,
just playing Call of Duty.
Yeah,
Come on.
like, let's go. Yeah.
We were getting smoked. I mean, we got fourth place at the tournament.
No, you guys did great.
It was a great result for what it was.
Yeah.
So you commentate at MLG Anaheim. First time you're not in your closet. It's all well and great. But I think for me, what the biggest transition for you was, and when we started becoming better friends, is when you started working at Machinima in Burbank. Because I had not spent that much time in California, but I always remember how kind you were after Anaheim to let me, at one of the Anaheims, I'm not sure what year it was, but you let me come and visit and stay at your apartment.
That's right.
But when did the decision come from, okay, I'm in college right now? Did you finish college?
No. So this was actually really interesting. So I was in my last quarter of college at Ohio State. I thought I was going to move to New York and work for MLG, right? Like I thought that was where my career was going to take me. It was kind of like, I'm wrapping up. I got to figure out what I'm going to do. Like I was making money commentating the PlayStation online qualifier. So I actually had good beer money during school. It still wasn't much money, but it was like enough to, buy some drinks every once in a while. But I'm like, I got to figure out, like I need a job, right? And so Machinima reached out, was a pretty young company at this time, because this is the beginning of 2010 probably, or end of 2009, whatever it is. Yeah, like right after Anaheim. Yeah. And they reached out and they said, we have this job to be a community manager for Machinima. And I said, look, I got a quarter left of college. I can't leave right now. And they go, look, we want you to work here. I just don't know if this role will be open or what roles will be open when you're done. And so I said, forget it. I'll take the job. I'll drop out of college and I'll finish some other time. Last quarter.
What a leap of faith.
Yeah. So two things that were interesting about that. I've been to Anaheim, had never been to Los Angeles. And so I just took the job. I was making $28,000 a year, which in LA, you guys should know, does not get you far. But I thought at the time, I'm like, I'm in Ohio, $28,000 is going to get the job done.
Easy.
So I moved out to Burbank. I got it, like 2 weeks later. My mom was obviously really upset because I dropped out. And you can imagine how upset my parents were to leave college in the last quarter. But I kind of was like, this is why I was going to college. I was going to college to get a job in the games industry. I got a real full-time job in the games industry at a startup, and it was really excited. And so I got in my car, packed it all up. As I was backing out of my apartment complex, I got backed into, and my car was totaled. And so I had to buy a one-way plane ticket out to Los Angeles.
Car made out of plastic?
It was an Altima. But this woman, another podcast, another day, she backed in.
Was there any part of you that was like, oh, bad omen, maybe I should finish school?
A little, to be honest with you, a little bit, but I was so excited. And so the first time I stepped foot in Los Angeles to live there was the first time I had visited Los Angeles. Wow. So I didn't go out before. And so I moved in with 2 other guys from Machinima in a 3-bedroom apartment. And that started my Machinima career.
I feel like the Avalon apartments are like the Kickstarter for everybody in LA.
It is. That's where it was. It was Avalon Burbank. It was a great place. I was in heaven, man. I lived in Ohio. I moved out in the winter to Los Angeles. I mean, as soon as I came to Los Angeles, I'm like, I'm never leaving. I love the city. You know, people dog the city about traffic and all these things. I absolutely love living in Los Angeles.
I love it too. And it's always funny to think back. Ryan was always trying to convince me to move to LA. And when I would visit here, it just never felt like home. It was just so busy. There were so many people. And I was from the suburbs of Chicago. I like my own space. I told him I'm never going to move out here. And then I just got older and older and older. I mean, I ended up chasing a girl out here. Yeah. But it took like a year of me living in LA when I was landing at LAX from another city where it truly felt like home. And now I love it. I don't think I could ever leave. Yeah. But I mean, Ryan, again, like I said at the beginning, is one of the most driving forces in my life to now being out here, and it would have led to me starting 100 Thieves. So I'm very grateful for really the mentorship that you provided early on for me. But I think what I've always been so fascinated about is how quickly you rose in the corporate ladder. Because, I mean, you only fast forward a couple years and you're working at YouTube, but what was the time like at Machinima? Because I know a lot of people here watching this video or listening to this podcast are probably familiar with Machinima in some capacity or another because of all the YouTubers and the networks and everything that happened. But how did you rise so quickly at Machinima? Because you didn't stay a community manager that long.
Yeah, it's a good question. So I was at Machinima about 4 years, but the great part about it was I got to see kind of the whole bell curve of Machinima. So I was there before it took off and was really successful and was a part of that. I also was there on that downward slope where it started to kind of go into shambles. So I think one of the really great things for me was I got a lot of early reps and learning about business, particularly in the games industry. Got to make a lot of mistakes very early on. So some of the first things that I did, we started a multi-channel network, which is essentially you can roll channels up and they partnered and they can have AdSense running on YouTube. YouTube at the time wasn't giving this at a per creator. So they were giving them to, the MCN. So there was IGN was one, Full Screen, Maker, so forth. Machinima was one of them. Machinima was actually the first one. And so we learned a lot about, first I developed a lot of great relationships with creators from that process and rolled channels up. We also made a lot of mistakes around how do we pay out these creators? How do we monetize our network? And we lost a lot of money in those early days at the company. The nice thing about losing money is they're painful learning experiences. And so I basically have been focused on the gaming creator ecosystem for a long time. So I think that allowed me to move very quickly at Machinima because our company grew so fast. It created opportunities for me to be a manager at a very young age.
And on top of that, gaming was growing so quickly. I mean, I feel like you got in at the ground level at the perfect time.
You remember how big Machinima was when you joined?
So Machinima was, the biggest gaming network on YouTube and definitely had all the biggest ones. But
I meant like employees, like people.
Oh, so probably about 20, 25. And I was there when we got up to about 250.
Wow.
And so, I got to manage, teams of people, whether it was on the multi-channel network side, the live side, the esports side. I also got to move around to different divisions very quickly. And so it helped me stay incredibly well-rounded. So that was, I think, a lot of that. My time at Machinima, I'm like incredibly grateful for because we did so many things right and so many things wrong. And both of those were such great learning experiences. And I think that made a difference. And I'll tell you, I caused a lot of stink at YouTube while at Machinima, which I think put my name, for better or worse, on people's radar at YouTube proper around the gaming space.
Well, that's half the battle in business, I would say, having your name being top of mind, hopefully in a positive way, but just networking in general.
Right.
That's one thing that I'm learning because I'm not the best networker, and I was always just like a solo YouTuber, never had to worry about it. But Jackson and John, everybody at 100 Thieves are really good at relationships, so that's a positive. But you seem to manage all of them really well, and with the time that you entered into the gaming industry and how quickly it exploded on YouTube, what I was saying earlier is it just seemed like the perfect storm because all these different companies needed more knowledge, and from like from the very beginning, from the ground floor, like they need somebody who really understood the space in and out. And that's something I think that you embodied as an individual. And so how many different role changes did you have at Machinima, you'd say?
What was interesting? Probably 3. I think the real interesting thing for me during my time at Machinima, and I actually encourage anybody that really is like, has an entrepreneurial spirit in them, is to invest a ton of your life in your early 20s to whatever you're passionate about. Because what I did was work all day, and then I'd go home and stream on Justin TV, which then became Twitch. And so my days were nonstop gaming video.
Yeah.
Right. So I was running the business at in my early 20s on the Machinima side, and I'd come home and I'd stream. And I did this every single day of the week, all the time. And I actually was one of Twitch's first partnered channels when they spun off into Twitch.
Let's go.
And
Same.
yeah. And so I thought that was awesome because it did two things. One, I didn't know if I wanted to be a creator, so it allowed me to hedge, right? I had this business job and I was able to actually still, I made just as much money live streaming as I did from being an employee.
Really?
Yeah, so it was about half and half. And so at that point, I needed to make a decision where it's like, it's not sustainable to continue to do both and do that. And so my heart is definitely on the business side, but I think because of my appreciation of being a creator for so many years and for so long, I understand that business intimately well that no other executive at Machinima, MLG, or YouTube for that matter do. And so I do think that gives me a unique perspective on the space that has helped me to your point. So that's why I think all those Machinima years were so impressionable on me.
You articulated my thoughts so much better. Thank you very much, Ryan.
Yeah.
Now I don't want to get too lost in the weeds because there's so many questions that I actually want to ask you about the gaming industry as it stands today.
Yeah.
So let's make the jump to YouTube.
All right.
Because you've been there for a few years now. I want to tell my side of the story, and then you can tell yours, because this was Jackson. I always love this moment in my life because at the time you were dating. Justine.
Yeah.
And I'm not, that's not like the focus.
Great person.
But it's for the sake of this story. And they were living together. And I was visiting LA. And that's when I was hanging out with Jenna Moore. And I ordered an iPhone because one of them had just been released. And I had to have it shipped to a California address so I could pick it up while I was out there. So I had it shipped to your place with Justine. I get over and pick up the phone from upstairs. Her and Jenna were up. They were playing Destiny when it first came out. And I was so nervous to meet Jenna. She didn't even say like hello to me. And I like walked downstairs like with my tail in between my legs. I think I said like 2 words of like, hi.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So I walked downstairs and I grabbed my iPhone. I sit on the couch with Ryan and he gets a little quieter. And he's like, look, man, YouTube asked me to come interview. And I'm like, what? Well, I think he used Google at that time. He said, Google wants me to come interview for like head of gaming at YouTube. I'm like, no fucking way. That's unbelievable. He's like, yeah, I think actually you already had taken one of the interviews and you said you crushed it.
Yeah, I did.
You said it went really, really well. So
yeah.
Talk me through that part of your life, because that's like the turning point. I feel like if that is a movie about Ryan Wyatt.
Yeah. That would be the. So I talked about the first moment was
no, that's like Leonardo DiCaprio opening up Straight in Oakmont.
Yeah, something like that.
So yeah, there's probably a better example in there.
My second moment for the major career moments was all of that. So I had actually I have Crohn's disease and I just had a surgery. I had some of my small intestine taken out and was really sick at the time. And I was at MLG and was kind of like in and out of the hospital. And so Google reached out and I was like, I don't know, I just started MLG, was a VP of programming. I had felt bad because basically had been there 7 months and only worked there 3 months because I was out. And they called and they're like, hey, we want to interview, we want you to interview for this head of gaming role. They were familiar with my past at Machinima and so forth. It was an interesting situation because I was only 27 years old at the time. And so this role was obviously scoped for somebody that has like 15 years in the industry. And I was like, at the time I had like 6 or 7, right? So I didn't know if that was like something that was realistic or something that even there was a little bit of self-doubt of even like, am I really ready for this role? This is like my dream role. Is the dream role really going to get that at 27 years old? Is like a tough one to actually kind of process. So they called and I spoke to a recruiter and the whole process was amazing. I went up and I did about 12 interviews with Google. I met
what span?
Over the course of probably 2 weeks, including me even meeting with Susan, who was like utterly amazing. Our interview was supposed to be 30 minutes.
Susan is the CEO of YouTube.
She's the CEO of YouTube, and it was supposed to be 30 minutes. We ended up speaking for almost an hour. I mean, I was utterly amazed by the quality of people that I was speaking with across the organization, right? So I was talking to leadership from the product engineering, strategy, finance side, business side, and then obviously the CEO. And so it was an incredible experience. And so it was also the longest 2 months of my life because they obviously were interviewing other people during this process and I went up and you got to wait. And so it was a painful 2 months. And I remember getting the call that they wanted to offer me the job and like my heart sunk through the floor. And I've never, like to this day, I've never gotten a phone call, which is like had me so emotionally charged.
You never felt that when I would call you?
Other than when you would drunk dial me.
Every time.
Every
Otherwise-
time you FaceTime me at 3 a.m. and I went to bed at 9 p.m.
Had there been a head of gaming at YouTube before this?
No. So the really interesting thing was there actually wasn't a gaming division at YouTube. So although gaming was really big at YouTube, it was kind of rolled under general entertainment. Obviously, kind of like competitive pressure and the business space growing so fast, and gaming being, is the fastest growing vertical at YouTube. They were like, we've got to have a division of people that are specialized. And I'll tell you, I give all the credit in the world to my boss, Robert Kinsel. He's the chief business officer at YouTube. I mean, it is not normal to lean into like going outside of the Google tech world and being like, I'm actually going to grab like a vertical specialist and figure out how I integrate them into Google culture and make this work.
Yeah.
He's done this time and time again. Suzanne Daniels, who runs originals, Lior Cohn, who runs music, massive music industry background, and myself with gaming. And so I will always give him, probably out of all the people that have impacted my career, he has impacted it by far the most substantially in multiple ways. And giving a young guy a shot at a big business was really going out on a limb. And so like, I did not take that lightly when he offered that. And I recognize without him saying that of, how much I had to like have his back and show up big time in that position. So I manufactured a lot of stress and pressure in those early years, but I think it was necessary kind of given the stakes of the role.
I think it's really interesting that you said you had to take 12 interviews in 2 weeks, and for Jackson to start working at 100 Thieves, we had dinner at a Mexican spot.
It's great, man.
To be fair, you had ghosted me for like a month and a half before that.
Yeah, make them want
before
it.
that dinner.
Yeah,
so.
make them want it. Yeah, there's slightly different comparisons in companies too.
I think at the end of dinner though, you were like, "So, do you want to work here or what?"
I didn't know what to do.
And these are things, again, you start to get better at the process as time goes on.
Yeah, I'm learning.
You're learning.
You know what? Actually, I think this is actually a great opportunity for some real information, because it's great to learn your background. But with all those interviews that you did, one of the main reasons the Selfmade podcast is here is to educate in some way or another about the entrepreneurial spirit or the mindset you need to have in the business world or whatever vertical you're working in. Can you give us any interview tips? What do you know? Anything that specifically that you did, or anything that you have in mind that I need to nail? This is very important, and this is going to give them the right impression of who I am and what I'm going to bring to the table?
Yeah, totally. I have a couple, especially because I've also interviewed hundreds of people while at Google as well, too. So I think there's a couple things. Always answer the question that's being asked of you. If you need to take a couple minutes to think about what your answer is, do that. Don't ever have a non-answer to a question. Have confidence when you're speaking throughout your answers. Show some humility in your answers, and also show how important it is for big projects to get done. It takes a tremendous amount of teamwork and camaraderie. Recognizing that in your answers, especially when questions are asked of projects or things that are, stick out in mind, or big things that have happened in your career. How do you associate with them? Making sure that you are mindful of the people that helped achieve that is really important in your responses. So, and obviously you need to know what you're talking about. I can't help you with that, but that's like 80% of the battle. But I think like eye contact, speaking, with some gravitas is all like very important.
Define gravitas for anyone at home that probably doesn't know what that
or
means.
I just think having
is that I can use context clues like gravitas, like confidence with some oomph, with some some spunk.
Yes, sure. And then I also would always say to anybody in their career, like have some moxie, like be willing to work hard, be willing to pick up a shovel, be willing to put the time in. And so I think all of those are really important, and showing that in the interview process.
I love all the time that Ryan and I spend together is like just pure debauchery. Like it's just like so reckless and ignorant. And then when I sit down and talk to him on the podcast, I'm like, oh wait, this guy's really smart.
Yeah. You're my outlet of serious smartness. So it's good. I appreciate it. It's video games and other tomfoolery. So I appreciate that.
How many brain cells do I kill of yours?
Yeah,
you kill of mine.
Yeah.
Give and take.
Yeah.
Take, he gives.
Yeah. It's a little bit of both. Depends on the situation.
So you've now been at YouTube for how many years?
5 years in October.
And you still love it the same way that you did when you started?
Oh my gosh. I love it the same. I love it in a different way now. When I first started, it was all about building something, right? So like we built things, we built a gaming app, we built the gaming team, we built relationships with creators, with game publishers, with esports leagues, with teams. Obviously some of those things worked out, some of them haven't. And so like, that's the fun part of building, right? Like you're definitely never going to go 100% when you're building and go 10 for 10. it's different now. Like I manage people that are managers. I am thinking about growing other people's careers. I'm thinking about giving them opportunities so that they can shine. And so my job is very different now than what it was when I first started. I have a different level of appreciation though around it. And I feel quite frankly like one of the luckiest people in the world to have the job that I do. So I very much love it still.
You're the man. I love you, Ryan. All right, listen. This next question is going to come from Rocket Mortgage, the presenting sponsor of the Selfmade podcast. We've been working with them since the start of 100 Thieves, and they've been an amazing partner with us, and they help us give everybody at home more and more content. And we have a get more question. All right, we're trying to get more out of Selfmade. We're trying to get more out of Ryan Wyatt, and we've been talking about moments in your career that really set the tone for the rest of your life. And I think this is actually a great one as well. So this is our Get More question presented by Rocket Mortgage. My taco's here. I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to go get it. How did your career or outlook on your career change after being featured in the Forbes 30 Under 30 list 2015? He's Forbes 30 Under 30. I got to go get my tacos. Talk to Jack.
You know what? It's actually, there was two things that kind of really made that special. One, that was a list I wanted to be on, and that might be vain in some regard. But what really made that list pretty incredible, Matt was on it with me. And so, I've kind of always looked at him as
You guys
like
were
a
on
little,
the same year.
yeah, same year.
Awesome.
I've always looked at him as kind of like a little brother, and definitely I don't have one. I'm the youngest in my family. And, and definitely if you see us on and off, we act as such, but it was super
Speaking
cool.
very emotionally and personally about you, and you're walking in here with tacos.
And
I know,
very on brand for Matt as well.
Yes.
But that's honestly what made it feel so special, because it was like all of this, the hard work we had been doing, some together, a lot of it separate, but conversing
kind of
about it.
almost.
Yeah, dude, all culminating into a moment of recognition like that was pretty incredible. Like we were on that list in the same year, which was just insane.
It was unbelievable.
It was
really.
surreal. It was really surreal. So it was awesome. It was awesome.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Rocket Mortgage, for sponsoring this episode.
Great question,
and
Rocket
making
Mortgage.
this all possible. Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Push button, get mortgage. Push button, get more. We love Rocket.
They've like, if you have been following 100 Thieves the past year and a half, they have pretty much touched just about everything we do. They help our team so much. They're powering the podcast. Like it's been really great.
It's been a phenomenal experience. And they're also, by the time you guys watch this, I would have been in Detroit going to the Rocket Mortgage Classic and playing professional golf at a celebrity pro-am. I don't know why they categorize me as a...
You guys have been warming up for that too.
We've been golfing a lot. Yeah, I mean, listen, one day, the both of you are going to be a CEO at an incredibly successful company.
That.
I think mine's kind of like fake CEO. I don't know if this
Jackson's the
100
CEO of Rocket Mortgage.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Jackson's a really smart guy. You're a really smart guy. But the thing about business, I actually think it's pretty fascinating for me, is that growing up, whenever you hear about business, they always say it's done on the golf course. And that's not as true anymore. I just don't think it's part of the culture. But it's a great tool to
gaming
have.
CEOs apparently.
Yeah. It's quite social, but yes, maybe.
So we've had Ryan golfing quite a bit, and the one thing I love about Ryan, because it's very similar to me, we have addictive personalities.
Yeah,
and I think we need to occupy our minds with different hobbies and different activities, or we're just going to go absolutely insane. And so you're actually a phenomenal cook. You could talk about that if you'd like, but you've also picked up golfing here in the last couple weeks, and maybe you could tell us the mindset or what you've been up to.
Totally. Look, I mean, I think not to be cliche, hobbies are incredibly important. And I think when you are focused on your career and your relationships and whatever that may be, those get lost. But I think it's really important to maintain. Cooking has been kind of one that I've kept throughout my life as something I just wanted to continue to improve upon. It's very tedious and it's very nuanced depending on what category of kind of dish you're creating. And so I've found tremendous joy in just like working and improving. There's a lot of actually that correlates to life of just like, you make a mistake, and then finally it's like, I nailed it. So with golf was one...
That's just full of wisdom,
You should be a motivational...
Seriously.
I'm getting all
peppering things in.
So with golf, it was something that I played a long time ago when I was really young, like 9, 10, 11 years old. It was something I did with my dad and then never really played again. So I had not, when we first went out or whatever, it had been 20 years since I'd gone golfing. I saw you and my buddy Rich as well that were, into it. And I was like, look, this is something I know I enjoy. Like I did enjoy it. It was just never had other people that really played, kind of got away from me. And so I made a bet on the Masters. on Saturday morning on Tiger Woods, and I think he was at like plus 1,600 odds to win. And I said, look, if I win this bet, I'm gonna buy golf clubs and get back into betting. And proof is I showed Matt this bet on Saturday morning.
No way.
So I won the bet with Tiger Woods, and then it was cool because all the guys were way more invested in the Masters then, because I was like, I shared this bet on Saturday morning with them. So I won the bet, and I want to
cashed out,
won a good amount of money off that bet, and I went and bought all new clubs, all new irons, everything, right? Like new bag, bunch of clothes, bunch of Nike swag, this hat as well. Not sponsored by Nike, but let me know if you can send free swag. And I got out on the golf course, played terrible. So I signed up for lessons at a place here called UGP, which is amazing as well. Sorry for another plug. And I'm working on it, but I look at it very much fundamentally the same as cooking, where it's like, here's something I enjoy. I'm not good at it. I find a lot of joy out of incremental improvement at it. I find myself incrementally improving. That's the good thing too, as well.
You are.
And I want to continue to invest time in it. I also think it's something that is a active hobby that I can do as I get older, and I can be outside and something. And when we're out there, I mean, it is like peak level of friendship. So long story short, that's what it's at. And I'm kind of maintaining these hobbies, trying to get my wife into more hobbies as well too.
I think it's great.
She's getting a little jealous.
It's great to like either learn something new or get better at something you're not great at, especially after you've already had success.
Yeah.
Like I think it's easy to lose that like learning or beginner's mindset, and to like reset on that is really, really cool.
It's a really good point. And I'll tell you, I have to balance myself, because out there, I am improving, but sometimes still get frustrated. And so you do need to balance act, because I think it is really important to celebrate small wins, but you got to move on very quickly from those. And so that translates the same on the golf course. And
there are so many life lessons in golf you don't even understand. I'm not going to get into them all, because I'm going to talk about
a dedicated episode.
I'm like an incredibly impatient person. The things that I've gotten out of my life has been because I have been impatient, and there are also like the good things, right? Sure. Because I'm like, always what's next? What's next? What am I going to do? There are also, it's great that that two of my hobbies require a tremendous amount of patience, because I don't have it at all. 0%.
Run that back, Turbo. Slow it down.
Yeah. So like I get penalized heavily in both of these hobbies by being impatient. And I think it's really good for my overall well-being to keep working on it.
All right, listen.
Sorry.
We have given Ryan too many easy questions. All he's had to do up to this point is talk about his life.
Isn't that what this podcast is? It's all self-made, right?
Yeah, it is self-made. But Jackson, see, I'm getting better, chat. Comments. I want you to ask Ryan some hard-hitting questions about gaming, whether it be like Fortnite on YouTube, whether about esports. I just want to hear the outlook.
I'll answer any question you want to ask.
Jackson, you're a smart guy. You're a contributing member of this podcast. You're a co-host of this show. Hit him with something good. Hit him with a smart question. And if you don't do it, I'm still going to love you forever. Go ahead.
Well, the stakes have been lowered. I'm curious how we're sitting in 2019, and we can talk about Fortnite and a lot of stuff that's happened recently, but I'm curious how you look at the next, maybe say 2 to 3 years, or maybe even up to 5 years from now. So I don't want to look way out.
Yeah.
You seem probably more than anybody. How do you think about the way that new games can come in? And I'm really curious for you, what makes a game like Fortnite come in, as PUBG and so many others have, and really have the relevance it does in a lasting way?
Yeah,
I think gaming can be so much of a hits business.
Yep.
And then you have, every once in a while, you have Counter-Strikes, you have League of Legends, you have Call of Duty, obviously. What makes a game like Fortnite come in and do what so many of the other games couldn't?
There's a lot of questions in there. I'll start with the last one you just asked. No, it's okay. I think games like Fortnite, and where Fortnite's really been thriving on YouTube in particular, is actually the creative mode. And really what we've seen successful on YouTube is allowing people to kind of create their own story, their own narrative, their own thing. Whether, I think a lot of creators are artists in some way. And so that's why it's like Grand Theft Auto, after 6 years or whatever it's been, is still big. People are doing role playing, right? Like that's a very creative way to tap into that game. Minecraft, because of all the different things and the mods you can do it. Same with Roblox. Like if you look at our top 5 games, Minecraft is still number 1 after all these years. Like Minecraft is massive still, right? And then Fortnite's number 2. And I think why Fortnite, where you started to see it kind of taper off, but now has hit another inflection point of growth, is largely because of the launch of creative mode. So when you watch streams on Twitch, you're used to the World Cup qualifiers and the esports, and that's what Twitch leans into. It's inherently a hardcore gaming platform, and hardcore gamers love esports. I identify as a hardcore gamer as well. When you look at YouTube, you have over 200 million people that are coming to watch gaming. all the time, right? Like these are 200 million logged in users that are coming in monthly to watch gaming content on YouTube. And so you need a variety of content. And I think when you have creative mode or you have mods or you have these sandbox environments, it allows for that dynamic nature of content and so that it never gets stale. So that's why I think Fortnite has been successful. And I think what made them successful is the implementation of creative mode and some of the other stuff. And it's very clear, like Prop Hunt and the other things that they're doing, that they know this well, right? And because we told them. The question you asked about like 5 years on the horizon as well. It's a really interesting question because there's a couple of things that I'm seeing happen from a trends perspective. I don't believe hardcore PC gaming and hardware improvements in PC is ever going to go away, despite us launching a cloud gaming platform. Because I think you will always want people that are going to want to play on the cutting edge technology. I'm totally one of those people. I look at cloud gaming like Google Stadia, like Project xCloud with Microsoft and Xbox. These are opportunities where lines are going to be blurred between playing and watching. And so that's going to be a really cool experience because the games you know today are what they are, and that's kind of cool. What the games that will be created 5 years from now, knowing that users, creators, and players can all influence one another in an actual dynamic game state, is going to open the doors for all kind of games that like your mind can't even wrap around. So I think
you mean more like interactive, like between the viewer and the player?
I'll give you like a silly example, but imagine, you're playing a game and I'm watching you on YouTube and all of a sudden I can jump in for 5 minutes and play with you. Yeah. And by just clicking a button and I load up seamlessly, like on my Chromebook or I load up on my PC or whatever, right? And you're playing immediately with Stadia. And that's not just a plug. Like I do think cloud gaming changes that dynamic. The other thing that people aren't really mindful of, especially people that only focus on business in the West, is a lot of people will never have Stadia or PC hardware in their homes. So they won't ever have access to consoles. They won't ever have access to hardware. So what they'll have access to is mobile phones. So I think the mobile games industry is going to continue to grow massively. And some of the things we're seeing with like PUBG Mobile out of India, Knives Out out of Latin America, particularly Brazil, we're starting to see mobile games. Like we have 2 out of our top 10 games globally are mobile games. Watch. So I think, hardcore gamers laugh at mobile gamers. That's okay. Like that's fine. I think to each his own on each one of these, right? And it's always been PC gamers to be elitist, but I would think mobile gaming, as hardware improves in mobile phones, so do the games. They're not inherently casual anymore, like Candy Crush.
Yeah, and it's not even
What are you laughing at?
I don't know. I just had this. You know that Michael Jordan meme that says "F them kids." I was gonna say "F them mobile kids."
No, they're huge, and they won't have access to it. That's
the biggest difference. Like, there's no longer a choice or like a level of interest in games.
1.2 billion people in India. They're not going to have
mobile is the peak.
Yeah, I didn't mean it in a like a segregative way. I just meant like mobile games. I get it. I love Clash Royale. I play Golf Rivals.
Cool, man.
I'm still never going to be able to get down on a first-person shooter on mobile. It's like when I see PUBG Mobile, I'm just thinking to myself, man.
Yeah.
But imagine if you'd never been able to play PUBG on desktop.
That's the thing. Like, that's a different.
I know. I'm not trying to be exclusive of others who don't have the ability or the opportunity to play.
We're inclusive gamers on Selfmade. That's why we're Selfmade.
On Selfmade. I just love that there's so many like hardcore fans that just hate mobile gaming, and I don't actually. Yeah. We had a Clash Royale team at one point. There are a lot of mobile games that I thoroughly enjoy. I was just trying to be an idiot.
I know, totally. It is bizarre though, like because there are people that actually do take that stance. It's like why is that bother you?
It doesn't
so
affect
much?
you at all.
You know what bothers me is the age-old like Xbox PlayStation debate. Like you see kids on Instagram in these comments that are literally like going after each other's families and their mothers because you fucking asshole. I can't believe that you prefer Xbox over PlayStation.
We want something. We're competitive. We want something to like. We want to be in our tribe and be against the other tribe.
It's passion. Yeah, I think it's passion. I think at the end, like a lot of people that love gaming, they're very passionate about it, and so they have strong points of views about games, about how they play them, and so forth. And I've heard them all. And as I travel more, I have a much better holistic outlook on how people perceive the games industry. And I think it's helpful in making business decisions because you don't make decisions just based on the US. In fact, US is pretty small relative to the rest of the world.
Yeah. Man, Ryan's got all these facts. I can just tell how many times you say all this.
I know it all.
In your
it is my job though.
Keynotes or like speeches like conferences do you give a year?
All the time. I'm going to Germany on Saturday to go give one in Munich.
Well, Ryan actually presented in the Stadia presentation.
I did.
Right?
That was awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
You crushed
thank
it.
you. It was really fun. That team's like incredible to work with, and it's been a fun partnership.
Well, I think that's also another interesting aspect of your career and the places that it could possibly take you is that you're also like an incredible public speaker. And I think nowadays, especially in tech or gaming in general, there is a lot of public presentation.
Yes.
And I'm just saying,
Not that many people who are very good at it.
Yeah.
Look, I always told Ryan before 100 Thieves, now the company's doing pretty well and I'm excited about my future. The one thing that was lingering in my mind that Ryan, he met it head on was the mindset of, I can't be a content creator forever. It's like, what path should I take? And he decided.
I pushed you a lot on that.
You did push me a lot,
Yeah.
and you decided to take the business route. But I always told Ryan, whenever like the well would dry up for YouTube or Twitch for me, and I wasn't able to make a living anymore, that he'd have to give me a job. And I still think that holds true.
Dude, I would 100% give you a job.
I know.
You ain't going anywhere,
Yeah,
buddy.
yeah, yeah.
I know I'm not going anywhere.
You're good now.
It's great.
Hands off, YouTube.
Yeah.
Scooter, you need to listen to me. I'm not saying this because I'm worried about 100 Thieves, because he's always thinking to himself, well, where are you plan on going? I put out a tweet one time. When everyone's listing out the top 5 jobs the 5 jobs they've had in their career, I put number 5 as like question mark. Scooter texted me immediately, screenshotted it. To me.
Listen, Scooter.
Where are you going?
Scooter, the only other job other than YouTube would be 100 Thieves for me, man.
No, but this is perfect.
Don't give me any ideas.
I always sit at home or I sit in the office and I think, man, it is great to be the dumbest person in the room because all of these people are working to make 100 Thieves successful. And here's my thing. 2 of my really, really close friends out here in LA, you guys are going to be incredibly successful. And so whenever 100 Thieves goes to the moon, whether we sell it, whether it just continues to be the company that it is, and we just wildly successful, I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, but I've got 2 people here that are going to give me a really good job, and I don't got to worry about shit. Let's get it.
I don't think you're gonna have to worry about
if we do things right, I think you'll be just fine.
I agree. Yeah, and there's 2 things though that I noticed that you had in there, which I think is important to call out. One, surrounding yourself with people around all of your areas of weakness. I know you said dumbest guy, but all jokes aside, like when hiring people, I literally try to hire people that have a area of expertise that's much better than mine. And that is what makes a good leader and a strong leader. So you should always lean into your areas of weakness in hiring. 2, I like the other thing that you said is you had no doubt in what you said. Some people have self-doubt in their statements, right? They're like, oh, when, if 100 Thieves takes off, blah, blah, blah. You're like, when 100 Thieves goes to the moon, right? So I like the confidence as well.
It's because I know how many people.
I want to call both those things as a good CEO traits.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We just have a lot of smart people that work here, and every day I just get to sit back and watch them and hear them say smart things. And I'm like, I'm glad you work here.
Yeah.
Jackson being one of those people.
Yeah, J-Rob as well.
Yeah, J-Rob, our guy Alex. We got Selena here, Maurice in the back.
You guys have an incredible team.
Yeah, for me, I think it's really cool too. And Ryan, maybe you can talk through this with Jackson. I think this is pretty interesting for the Selfmade podcast. Is we just hired a brand new VP of Esports, and Jackson has been sort of our pseudo GM for our League of Legends roster, and he was also handling all of our apparel business. And we brought on that's not going to be announced yet. We brought on somebody really, really good for apparel. Not saying that you aren't.
Look at you not leaking
better than me.
announcements.
Yeah,
now.
I'm not leaking
Last time we did a thing together.
Only
you
sort of
leaked
leaking
announcements.
You're an asshole. You didn't tell me the event was being live streamed.
We
got
always
lots
assume
of-
when you're
we have
speaking publicly, but
Lots of good things coming.
We have a lot of great hires coming at 100 Thieves that are going to make our business even better. Well, I'm very excited about. But Jackson and Ryan, this is what I want you guys to talk about. Jackson is going to be taking on full-time back his original position, Director of Business Development.
yeah, which is right up your alley. I mean, you're going to be great at that. That's like a no-brainer from my perspective.
New ideas and new projects. And I'd love to have you guys sort of rap about that. I think that'd be really interesting.
Well, I am curious. So, for a little more context, essentially my job at 100 Thieves has been to spin things up that don't fit into our like obvious business units.
Yeah.
And along with kind of handling a few of them. And now that all of those are passed off, my job is essentially to think about what's next, how do we grow, what are we not doing? And I'm curious for you, in the last 5 years at YouTube, you had so many things to come in and build that were like, oh, we have to tackle this. We have to build out our gaming unit. We have to do the obvious things. I'm curious how you as a leader and essentially the guy running the whole gaming unit at YouTube think about those kind of non-urgent but really important projects and
it's a great
things.
question. Ruthless prioritization. which is really, really difficult to do. It's like much easier said than done. When you look around and your entire house is a mess, like you don't just start like collectively cleaning everything and then your house kind of still looks like a mess when it's done. So we had to be very, very focused in what we wanted to build. We had two big gaps in the beginning. One, we were behind on product creation that gamers needed and other platforms were innovating fast there. Two, we did not have enough robust relationships with creators. And three was gaming publishers didn't even know how to get a hold of YouTube. So like you got to fill the most important like P0 gaps immediately. And so I look at it that way. I mean, moonshots are really important. I think you should devote 20% of your time of taking like very high risk bets on things that you want to do, and you should be forward thinking and take those bets. And even if 90% of the times they don't work out, it's usually the 10% that will have like a material change on the company. Sure. But yeah, I think ruthless prioritization. So putting all the things that you want on a piece of paper, but you don't have enough resources to get them all done. And so you've got to have incredible focus. Yeah. And you got to keep your team focused too, because I think that's an important thing as well. People need to be channeled in the right direction. And so when you kind of have everybody like, oh, you go clean the kitchen and you go clean over here, and then everybody comes back together and it's like, the house is still a mess. Like nobody feels good about that.
It can be so easy, I think, just to look at the super obvious urgent thing that feels like it's a big deal, but probably actually, it's like pick up the thing off the ground right here, when in reality you need to like systematically sort through the rooms or whatever.
That's right. Yeah. And also, I mean, I think it's really hard to make like detrimental business decisions. Like I think you have to be mindful of hedging your bets and making sure you don't over-index in any area. But mistakes are totally fine. I think people get caught up on making bad decisions sometimes, or mistakes, and they always turn into incredible learning experiences. So I never dwell on any of the things that we should have done differently.
This is fucking awesome. Like I'm hangry right now, and I'm in such a good mood because I think this conversation we're having is like the original like mindset behind Selfmade. And the episodes that we did with Hector and Justine were fantastic, but I've known their stories really well. And they're on like the other side of business where they're entrepreneurs in a very forward-facing, creative way, where you're so deep in the business operations at YouTube. It's just really incredible to hear both of you guys talk. And I'm learning so much just listening. And I think this is incredible. What do you think now? I actually would like to shift over to esports, because I know sometimes you can have a cynical outlook on esports. Like I know,
not cynical.
I know it might not be categorized as cynical, but you understand how big of an audience, and we're not going to get into that because I need esports to sound as great as it possibly can. I appreciate you being positive when you're speaking about esports. But what is your outlook right now on the industry? Just because obviously we are an esports organization. Actually, better question. What grade would you give 100 Thieves in the last year and a half? What grade would you give us?
Literally, all jokes aside, an A+. Honestly, like you guys have not missed on anything yet from my perspective. You will inevitably, and I'll be interested to see how you guys handle that when that time comes. But I mean, my goodness, to think about the acceleration that you guys have had from day one to where you're at. I mean, there's esports organizations that have been around, significantly longer that pale in comparison as far as how you guys are thinking about the space. I also think kind of the lifestyle extension of the company makes you guys positioned very unique. And I don't think that's just something you can replicate. It needs the right people and the right mentality. You can't just be like, oh, we want to be a lifestyle brand as well. So I think you guys are doing a lot of things. I mean, you have back-to-back championships in Call of Duty. I see both trophies over there as well. So I think you guys have made a lot of right moves. Esports, actually, the thing about esports is not that I'm cynical. It's actually where my heart is most placed because of my background. And so I feel more Yeah, bring those out. I don't know why they haven't been out the whole time. I'm more protective about esports, and I take it personal when people are doing things in the esports space that could potentially hurt it. Yeah. And so I think of esports as something that like I want to make sure it doesn't turn into a bubble that bursts, because you all have great opportunities and jobs from this, and in life we all do, and I want to keep that going.
Well, I mean, there's definitely some sort of a bubble in esports. And
there is a bubble.
It depends.
And it'll pop.
You can call it a bubble. You can call it hype. I think that
that's what a bubble
can mean. It's just, what I mean is I think a bubble is like this impending doom where it's all going to blow up.
Agreed. And I don't think that's the case.
It's not that, but there's certainly a lot of like I have people who know nothing about gaming and they just talk about esports like it's this like hot new thing, and they're bundling everything from every aspect of Fortnite down to hardcore League of Legends matches. Right. And I think that right now esports is a very trendy word that doesn't fully, I think gaming as a broader thing is so much bigger than esports, and that's an important thing to keep in mind.
Infinitely bigger. But go ahead, you have.
Yeah, here it comes. No, what I was going to say is that, we talk about the bell curve a lot too with esports in general, the timeline. And I think the one thing that we're doing really well, sorry, I want to see how long, because I know you have a hard stop and I want you to try these tacos on the podcast, is that we're insulating our business to be successful regardless of esports.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's really important for organizations to understand is that we are an esports organization and we invest a ton of time and resources into building the best teams that we possibly can. And we're going to continue to do that. We're going to invest a lot of money and try to be the most successful team that we can be. But our business is not going to be defined by wins and losses. And I think
it shouldn't be either.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be. But
I wouldn't.
But there are a lot of teams that they define their success by how many championships they win. And again, it is a priority for us. But if we lose a League of Legends finals in the spring split of 2018, that's not going to blow up our business.
Yeah,
and a lot of people's entire fan acquisition strategy is to win. And so I just think we're on like the opposite end of the spectrum of ways that other organizations are thinking.
I think so I agree, generally speaking, with that. I think when you compete, it's important with the desired outcome to win, right? I don't think that winning championships will build esports brands alone at all, to be honest with you. Not now, maybe in the future. I can certainly see that being a big part if you look at like the Yankees or the Lakers or the Celtics and some of those historical franchises, which is obviously where they draw those comparisons from. I think the big thing right now that people need to realize in esports is I look at gaming on YouTube as kind of the sample size of all the people watching people play video games, right? Which is esports, generally the audience. And I look at 200 million, some people that are coming in, and there is not a huge appetite around consuming esports yet. It is starting to bleed into gaming more. It's starting to bleed into gaming more broadly. My goal is to introduce casual gamers that are watching gaming on YouTube. So they're obviously, I would say they're probably core gamers, not hardcore, and introduce them more into esports and get them associated. And I think what's missing is, you don't have these Michael Jordan, like, right? They might be a great esports player, but they don't have a huge YouTube channel and they don't have a Twitch channel that's big. And so you're starting to see people like Shroud, but then you still see some economic disparity there where if it's better to be a full-time streamer or a full-time YouTube creator than to be a part of an esports organization, that's a problem as well. So I actually see us progressing a lot in the esports space, like Courage signing and so forth is like a great example, right? And I think of people making sure to introduce, like, you don't have to be an esports person. Like, I love the idea of 100 Thieves having Courage because it introduces people into the team. So what Optic Gaming did really well in the early years and FaZe did really well. You should have these people that bring you into the brand and educate you about esports. Optic did this so well on YouTube where they were like a sniping organization and then became an esports. They kind of did it the other way, right? Yep. And so they were leveraging all these people. All of your fan base in the early days came from people that were not esports, and they didn't give a shit about esports, and certainly not Call of Duty.
That was their introduction to it.
Yeah, and so they were like, oh, I'm a Nadeshot fan, and I know he's competing this weekend, so I'm going to watch it. Right? Yep. And so, like, I just think there's a lot. I think there's a lot to be said about the way people think about it. And so I'm actually long-term super bullish on esports.
That's all I needed.
Yeah.
That's all the answer I wanted.
Things take time.
When you get the answer you're looking for, everybody stop talking.
But I have a lot more to say.
Trying to be an unbiased guest by both representing 100
I'm very biased.
I'll come in on another podcast and talk more about esports.
We'll have you back.
All right. Yeah. Business talk is done. This is the first time we're ever going to do something like this.
We didn't ask him about your like favorite question.
Yeah, I know, but I just
what is it?
My favorite question.
We got time.
We have time.
All right. Well, I just want you to try this tacos.
I'm gonna try. I got time. I'm gonna do it all.
But don't go anywhere because we're gonna do some mukbang on. Is it mukbang or mukbang? Mukbang.
Yeah.
I like mukbang better.
Okay.
Wallbang.
Well, I think it's
mukbang. Mukbang sounds so much better.
I like it, so I'm going to be wrong.
Mukbang. Yeah. Okay. My favorite question to ask people on the podcast is what, obviously, one of the biggest driving forces, and I've said that a million times on this podcast, I'm going to learn new phrases and adjectives. One of the driving forces for a lot of people in business is money, okay? And I know money is very important to you. Trust me, I know.
I like money.
I know, and that's why I love you.
Terrible to make it your driving force, though.
Of course, I get it. Passion, whatever.
Yeah.
Listen. What is the single biggest check that you've received in your entire life?
Are you kidding? Do people really answer this question?
Hector did with confidence. And it was a lot smaller.
To be clear, the expectation isn't that you have to answer this.
Just seeing what an answer
that just wants to ask.
When we bring Scooter Braun on the show eventually, I'm going to ask him a question.
I don't know Scooter, but
I don't think he'll answer it either.
And if you don't want to answer that, how do you think about success, and how does money fit into that?
I'll tell you, to be honest with you, you're going to make fun of this. I'll be really quick because I know you want to get in those tacos. I think anytime you do something for the pursuit of wealth, you will be incredibly sad inside, dude. There's a difference between being rich and being wealthy, dude. And you know that is the truth. So like when I first started commentating in a bedroom or reffing events, I didn't think I was going to be rich.
We know you have passion.
I'm going to do this and make a lot of money, right? I'm getting a job.
Nobody's going to doubt your passion.
But
we're getting the Ryan Wyatt answer. We're not getting a Fwiz answer right now. There's many different versions of Fwiz. You guys have to understand.
Enough to take care of my
There's
family.
evil Fwiz. There's Sunday Fwiz. There's YouTube Fwiz. There's Ryan Wyatt.
Evil Fwiz is my favorite, by the way.
Before we dive into tacos, when you are the epitome of success, right? And I'm sure you are doing just fine on all fronts.
Yep.
When you look forward and you think about the next 30 years of your career, or whatever it is, or beyond that, what drives success? You keep doing this. People blamed you last time for doing that.
I wanna take care of my family. I mean, that's it.
Very simple.
No, I was trying to get you to stop hitting the mahogany. That I wouldn't.
I know.
Yeah,
The,
makes
the mahogany. Okay,
It's spelled mahogany. Mahogany.
I can't. I have no idea.
We should do a spelling bee.
Oh, dude, if we did spelling, I would. It'd be laughed off.
I think it's M-A-H.
Oh, just
M-A-H.
I can spell it on
Shut up.
paper, but I can't.
M-A-H-A.
Oh.
G-O-N-Y.
all right. Well, let's eat
Mahog.
the
We get a spell check? All right, listen. I told Ryan I was going to order him tacos from my favorite place in LA. So we're going to do mukbang. You have the corn, you have the flour tortillas here. Now
I ordered the flour specific.
Yeah, I don't like chewing noises. So
that's the whole point of what mukbang is.
I guess I don't fully understand.
It's like eating food plus ASMR.
All right, so I have three chicken tacos. It comes. Oh, my mouth's watering. It comes with cheese, cilantro, onions, and salsa. And I got no guacamole on mine, but you have guacamole on yours. Jesus, and I have chips and salsa for the boys.
No napkins either. Huh?
I don't have napkins. Can't always get what you want. Yeah, take a bite of that. Let me see what you think.
Damn, it's pretty good.
Wait, that's the beef. You got to try the chicken. Chicken rules the world. Yeah.
Matt and I go to this place about three times
Try
per
the
week.
chicken. Try the chicken.
We aren't very creative.
It is a little spicy.
With our
a little
lunch box.
mukbang for you.
No, it's not it's mukbang.
Mukbang.
It's mukbang. Is this it? Are we wrapping up after this?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
So we always forget, but
How you guys end shows here?
Ryan,
Wrap it up.
Fwiz, Wyatt, where can the people find you? And do you have anything else you want to say?
Wait,
To the-
first of all, sorry to cut you off.
It's really
Let me get a
ending.
1 out of 10.
8.5.
That's pretty strong.
That's a rookie score.
No, it's a pretty good taco.
It's a one bite. Everybody knows the rules.
Yeah,
Have you ever had a 10 out of 10 taco?
Presidente. I still stick by my 8.5 because I think it's one of the better tacos I've had here.
Have you ever had a 10 out of 10 taco?
No, I've definitely not had.
I like that. You're setting the bar kind of.
I mean, this is definitely one of the better tacos I've ever had in Southern California.
Let's go.
Fucking run it,
Low
baby.
key.
Which I actually really doubted you when you were like, "Oh, it's really good." I'm like, yeah, "Okay." Like,
Over
this is
City.
tremendous. Yeah, what would you give it? Maybe like an 8.2?
One bite. Everybody knows the rules. Corn tortilla.
Flour tortilla.
I get corn. Thanks.
Wrong answer.
Not much flop. Not too soggy. The salsa's got a great zing to it. Cheese is perfectly littered around the tortilla.
Perfect.
Great amount of onion to salsa to chicken ratio. One bite, everybody knows the rules. Give about 9.2.
That's a rookie score.
9.2 is not a rookie score.
Where's the
Best
point
taco.
2 coming from? What?
9.2. He's never given a pizza a 9.2 before.
I don't care.
That's a rookie score.
This is the best taco I've ever had in LA. It's the best taco I've ever had in my life.
It is. Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Have you been to Mexico before?
Probably not.
Okay. So
No.
that's-
Afraid of planes.
It all makes. That makes a lot.
All right.
of sense.
Well, shouts to Loki.
Shout
We're not sponsored. We just love it.
Hey, can we have some tacos for free, Loki? I go to Loki, Culver City, platform 34.
They're not watching this podcast.
They'll find it somehow. Guys, I need all of you to go tweet at Loki, LOQUI. Hopefully you have the Twitter.
That's
Maybe
probably not their Twitter handle.
somebody find it and tell them Nadeshot loves your tacos so we can get some free tacos.
Free tacos.
All right, I'm done being annoying. Ryan needs tacos. Jackson, take us out.
Fwiz, Ryan Wyatt, one, do you have anything else you want to say, and where can the people find you? And thank you so much. You are an incredible man. You are a wise man. We appreciate you sharing your self-made knowledge with us all here.
Mukbang.
So people don't like when people chew and talk, so I feel bad.
Matt does it anyway.
That's my biggest pet peeve.
You're doing it though.
Hey, you shut your fucking.
Yeah, you really are becoming a tyrant.
Yeah.
Self-centered with
Self-centered with Nadeshot is what I think the show should be called. Yeah, Instagram and Twitter, I guess, is really where I'm at. Instagram.com/FWIZ, and same with Twitter. Fwiz. Find me at Face It, Fwizzy. I have a 1300 ELO. If you want these hands, come get it on Battalion. LinkedIn under Ryan Wyatt. I'll probably be the top search.
There we
What
go.
you know about them young Genji P90?
That you like that top search comment. See,
What can we look forward to?
That sarcastic Sunday Fwiz.
Yeah.
What can we look forward to from YouTube in the coming months or next year?
Okay, so the big thing will be Google Stadia is getting
Yep.
launched at the end of the year in November.
Sweet.
So keep your eyes out for that. And we're dropping heat in 2020. So I feel like I'm just getting started right now, 5 years
go.
in. So be ready.
That's why I tell all our investors I'm in the top of the first, baby.
Yeah. No, we're just getting started, man. So I got big dreams, big vision for the future.
Gang in this bitch.
Gang.
I think
Shouts to Rock and Mortgage.
Shouts to Rock and Mortgage.
The presenting sponsor of the Selfmade podcast. We love you to death. You've done so many great things for this company. We appreciate you. Push button, get mortgage. Let's get it.
Thank you, Brian.
House as well for being on the podcast.
Yeah, we appreciate free mortgages. Honestly.
Not how it works, but
Really quickly, though, I do want to get my one last thing in. I am going to be looking to buy a house in the next year or two.
we should buy a house together.
We should live on the same cul-de-sac.
I know, for sure.
We should live on the same
Three of you
cul-de-sac.
guys?
Yeah.
You
That'd
can
be
come
beautiful.
too.
Okay.
Actually, I was thinking about whenever the content house is finished up.
All jokes aside, with Rocket Mortgage, can I get my loan through them?
Yeah, you could. You should talk to him.
They do
Rocket
jumbo mortgages?
Guys, I'm going to sell you the entire rights of the story of Nadeshot buying a house. Let's do something, and you guys pay the mortgage. What's up?
Yeah, okay. Well,
There's a good chance that none of this is making it in the podcast.
Cut it like 3 minutes ago.
No,
Please.
keep it. Hey, Casey, let's do
Maddie,
something,
I'm
baby.
so sorry.
No, Maddie's going to love it. I love it. Rocket Mortgage loves it. Shouts to Michelle and Casey. Let's go.
Shouts to
Twitch TV,
Fwiz.
YouTube TV. We'll
This
see
has
you
been
later.
Selfmade. We got to cut this now.
Wow.